Okay, let's get on with this. Okay, welcome. Thanks for being here. This is session number 137 of Kevin Reads A Course in Miracles. Session 137. We are in chapter 17 in the text, which is entitled Forgiveness and the Holy Relationship. And today we are focusing on section 4, Roman numeral 4. All right? The two pictures, it's called, the two pictures. All right? And Jesus will poetically and metaphorically present two thought systems as if they were pictures within a frame. All right, and let's remind ourselves that Jesus is not condemning us or criticizing us for having special relationships, whether it be with a person, place, a thing, or an ideology, or an emotion, or whatever. All right, we can become addicted, almost dependent on things outside the mind. All right? We think these things are going to give us what we need. Okay? And Jesus doesn't condemn you for that. All right? He says you're not going to suffer eternal damnation for that. You're just going to, you're not going to feel good while you're here in a body. Okay? Because even the body is a special relationship. The whole idea of being separate from God is a relationship with the ego thought system. So we're trying to undo those things. Right? And always in this text, Jesus' direction is to just to look at what you're doing. Look at what you're thinking. Because all this is taking place in the mind. Right? So look at what you're thinking. Right? The first thing he's going to tell you is that this special relationship is a ploy by the ego thought system, the thought of separation, that will, it's there, its purpose is to prevent you from looking, prevent you from going to the mind and questioning the ego thought system. Okay? But you're not being condemned for that. You're not being judged for that. You're just being told, because we think we're this body, we think we're separated from God, right? This is what happens, right? And it runs the gamut, because we think there's hierarchies. One thing's worse than the other, I lose a loved one and I'm very sad, and for some reason I don't want to look at the sadness, I don't want to look at the relationship I had with that person, so I do things to avoid that. Pick your poison, as they say. So what is it that you do? Do you work too much? Do you have romantic relationships? Do you have too much food? Do you have drugs? Do you have alcohol? Do you smoke cigarettes? Billions of things, okay? All these things to keep me away from just looking at my thoughts. And that's all Jesus wants you to do. And you don't have to do that alone, all right? You invite your friend Jesus to look at your thoughts with you, all right? And he will, in this section, he will look at the frame with you, okay? Because the frame is what's distracting us. That's enough about me. All right. So on page 357, section 4, the two pictures. God established his relationship with you to make you happy, and nothing you do that does not share his purpose can be real. The purpose God ascribed to anything is its only function. Because his reason for creating his relationship with you, the function of relationships became forever to make happy, and nothing else. To fulfill this function, you relate to your creations as God to his. For nothing God created is apart from happiness, and nothing God created but would extend happiness as its creator did. Whatever does not fulfill this function cannot be real. All right? So, as Dr. Wapnick would say, this is, I believe he would say, this is a level 1 statement. He's telling you about your ultimate reality. All right? God, the original source, extended, and there you were. All right? There you are. All right? And you extend as God does. And what you're extending is this love, this happiness. Okay? And that's your function. All right? That is your function in heaven, so to speak. All right? And here in this dream, in this earthly experience, this experience of form, our function becomes forgiveness, right? Being willing to see the corrected thought, being willing to see the innocence instead of the projected guilt, and thereby extending happiness. Okay? And anything that doesn't do this it can't be real. So Jesus keeps, throwing those metaphysics in there. All right? If the function of the body is not to make everything happy and extend happiness, all right, then it's not real. And we're not talking about, birthday cakes and presents and things like that. All right? We're talking about the awareness of who you are. That's happiness. What's coming up for me right now is the prayer of St. Francis, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Right? So that peace is happiness. Right? Therefore, he's asking that his function on this earth, right, become that of extending peace. That's what the body is good for. So, paragraph 2. In this world, it is impossible to create, yet it is possible to make happy. I have said repeatedly that the Holy Spirit would not deprive you of your special relationships, but he would transform them. And all that is meant by that is that he will restore them to the function given them by God. The function you have given them is clearly not to make happy, but the holy relationship shares God's purpose, rather than aiming to make a substitute for it. For every special relationship you have made is a substitute for God's will, and glorifies yours instead of his, because of the illusion that they are different. Okay? So he says, in this world, in this form, it's impossible to create, right? Because that's a function of the mind in heaven, right? In the oneness, we create, and which means we extend the love, the happiness, the totality. Yet it is possible to make happy here. Okay? So, And I've said repeatedly, the Holy Spirit would not deprive you of your holy relationships. Right? Holy Spirit doesn't take anything away from you. Right? He will transform them. Right? But he would transform them. And all that means is that he will restore to them the function given them by God. So in all our relationships, person, place, thing, ideology, whatever, if we bring them to our friend Jesus, to the Holy Spirit, and ask to see it correctly, ask to see this situation, this person, I'm willing to see the correction, because what I'm doing is imposing my will, the idea of separation, the idea of guilt, someone else is guilty. All right? I'd rather see the corrected perception. All right? Then the function is transformed. We're no longer projecting guilt, we're inviting the awareness of innocence to rise up in our mind. Okay? And the relationship will be transformed. And we'll see it correctly. And if it has to be dealt with, it'll be dealt with correctly. Okay? Let's just leave it at that. All right? The holy relationship shares God's purpose, all right, rather than aiming to make a substitute for it. So God's purpose is the realization of oneness, the extension of love. All right? So the holy relationship shares that purpose. And every special relationship we had is a substitute for that. Okay? So in paragraph 3, see, the special relationship, once again, is that first we believe we're separated from God. All right? Now we think we have needs. All kinds of needs. Jesus talks about the need for vengeance, which is, we think that, God is coming to get us for what we did. So we have to deal with that. That's the guilt and the fear of punishment. All right, so we, find other people, other things that are guilty. It wasn't me. All right? It wasn't me. Was that Shaggy? But, and then it plays out, it reflects, that thought is reflected in form by our histories. Somebody did something to us along the way. All right, now we have relationships that will fix that. All right, so that's like taking vengeance on the past. And we think these relationships are going to fix that. And once again, Jesus is not condemning us for doing that. He's just saying, just look. Look at it. Look at your motivation. Look at your thoughts. All right? And question it. Bring it to me. Let me help you look at it. I will help you look at it with love surrounding you. All right? If you are immersed in love, whatever you're looking at will be transformed. All right, that's not it's not a Pollyanna-ish assumption, okay? It's the truth. If you're sitting there in the right mind, all right, and love is rising up, all right, what you see will be seen through that filter. And perception will be corrected. Okay? And he says in paragraph 3, you have made very real relationships even in this world. Yet you do not recognize them because you have raised their substitutes to such predominance that when the truth calls to you, as it does constantly, you answer with a substitute. Every special relationship you have made has, as its fundamental purpose, the aim of occupying your mind so completely that you will not hear the call of truth. Right? So truth calls to you constantly, and we answer with a substitute. Right? I insist, this is what I need. This is what will make me happy. Okay? And we do this on a daily basis. Okay? Because when the truth calls to us, I mean, this is instantaneous. This is quick. Right? Quicker than a New York minute, as they used to say. Maybe they still do. But it happens so quickly. The truth is constantly calling to us. And if we begin to hear it, we run away. Because I don't want to become abstract. Right? Or I don't, the ego's told me if I encounter the truth, it will destroy me. It will, take away things that I love. Everything will be swiped away from me. The only thing that will die is the ego thought system. And the ego doesn't want that. Which is why some of these, these relationships are so powerful. They bring our attention to it. Say, you can have a relationship with your body, and you become so immersed in the thoughts of the body. You wake up, you got to make sure your hair is right, there's no new wrinkles, there's, everything's working correctly, you're dressed correctly, it's all the appearance of things. And as they used to say on Saturday Night Live, it's better to feel marvelous it's better to look marvelous than to feel marvelous. So, and it becomes a distraction. It brings us out of our dwelling in the right mind, which would constantly remind you, you are a beautiful thought in the mind of God. There is nothing lacking in you. You have never separated from God. You haven't sinned. Maybe in this belief that we're in this time, we're in time, you do silly things, you make mistakes that you regret. And as I say, because we always think there's a hierarchy, some mistakes are worse than others. But if we were to bring those mistakes to Jesus, the Holy Spirit, in the right mind, and become immersed in the love and see through that filter, you would even see yourself. What you thought you did was so horrible. You would know. You would understand why it happened, and you're okay. All right? And that's the way it goes. All right? Jesus would never condemn you for anything you did. All right? He'd just look at it like, oh, that was a silly mistake. All right? And you're fine, and I love you. Let's go home. And that's about as serious as he gets, But he wants us to look, all right? And there's a lot of things in our past, perhaps, that we don't want to look at. And sometimes that motivates us to get into special relationships with whatever it is. I mean, it could be chocolate. Could be a person. It could be anything, all right? You get the message, all right? But the idea is that I don't want to look I don't want to look at those thoughts. I don't want to look at that past experience because I'm looking at it through my ego. Right? But if I had my friend Jesus with me, who would surround me with unconditional love, I could look at that. I could look at whatever it is in the past and realize that I'm okay. I'm not that despicable worm that I thought I was. Okay? That's what Jesus is asking us to do. Look. And these relationships, these special relationships, they become very attractive. Right? I mean, very. You know? And that's what their purpose is, to keep us out of the mind, as Jesus will say, if I allow him to get to it, if we look at the picture instead of the frame. But let's continue, okay? Paragraph 4. All right, let's just finish the last sentence of paragraph 3. Every special relationship you have made has, as its fundamental purpose, the aim of occupying your mind so completely that you will not hear the call of truth. All right? Jesus is calling you, telling you, you never left the mind of God. All right, come on back. But these relationships, they occupy the mind so completely, all right, until we make that decision that there has to be a better way to exist. There has to be a better way. And that's the call to Jesus and the Holy Spirit to come in and help you look. You start questioning these relationships. Okay? Paragraph 4. In a sense, the special relationship was the ego's answer to the creation of the Holy Spirit, who was God's answer to the separation. For although the ego did not understand what had been created, right, it was aware of threat. The whole defense system that the ego evolved to protect the separation from the Holy Spirit was in response to the gift with which God blessed it, and by his blessing enabled it to be healed. This blessing holds within itself the truth about everything. And the truth is that the Holy Spirit is in close relationship with you, because in him is your relationship with God restored to you. The relationship with him has never been broken, because the Holy Spirit has not been separate from anyone since the separation. And through him have all your holy relationships been carefully preserved to serve God's purpose for you. Okay? So, Dr. Watnick, he would teach point, counterpoint. All right? Saying that the special relationship was the ego's creation. All right? So it was first we thought that we could separate from God. Immediately, that thought was taken care of by the memory of who you are, the Holy Spirit. Okay? And then all of a sudden, the ego creates a counterpoint and says, but here's the special relationship. This will give you what you want. All right? So they go back and forth like that. All right? So the whole defense system that the ego evolved, all right, to protect separation, right, which is all these unholy relationships, all right, trying to protect the idea of separation, right, that was in response to the gift of memory of who you are. Okay? So these relationships, they're trying to pull us out of the mind, occupy the mind. Okay? So the ego in paragraph 5, the ego is always alert to threat. And the part of your mind in which the ego was accepted, the part of your mind into which the ego was accepted, is very anxious to preserve its reason as it sees it. It does not realize that it is totally insane. And you must realize just what this means if you would be restored to sanity. The insane protect their thought systems, but they do so insanely. And all their defenses are as insane as what they are supposed to protect. The separation has nothing in it, no part, no reason, and no attribute that is not insane. And its protection is part of it, as insane as the whole. The special relationship, which is its chief defense, must therefore be insane. All right? So, outlining the logic, Jesus tells you, look, the thought that you could be separated from God is insane. Okay? And every part of that thought system is insane. And that defense of the thought system, that special relationship, that's insane too. All its defenses are insane. Right? And the special relationship, which is its chief defense, must therefore be insane. All right? So, I mean, he's focusing on special relationships here. But he's telling you, just the very idea that you could separate from God is insane. Right? Once again, not condemning us for it. Just saying, you will welcome the day when you start looking at it and having your perception changed. All right? You will be moving from insanity to sanity. All right? And just a quick refresher course in Latin. Insano. 2 words. Insano. S-A-N-O. Just means not healthy. Okay? So, you're insane. You're not healthy spiritually. All right? And later on, Jesus, or all through the book, Jesus will say, you're unhealthy to the extent that you're dead. You're not even alive. All right, but let's not go there. All right? The Latin phrase used to be mens sana in corpore sano, which was a sound mind and a sound body. Okay? So, insano was not healthy. You're not sound. All right? This is what he's telling you. Just if you think you're separated from God, you're existing in an insane thought system. Right? He's saying, I don't get all upset about it. Just let's start looking at it. Okay? At one point, I love it when Jesus says, let us look at this calmly now. Okay? Let's look at the thought that you're insane. Let's look at that calmly. All right? Paragraph 6. You have but little difficulty now in realizing that the thought system the special relationship protects is but a system of delusions. You recognize, at least in general terms, that the ego is insane. Yet the special relationship still seems to you somehow to be different. Yet we have looked at it far closer than we have at many other aspects of the ego's thought system, right, that you have been more willing to let go. While this one remains, you will not let the others go, for this one is not different. Retain this one, and you have retained the whole. Okay? And that's really human nature, to, start hearing the message, all right? And Jesus is telling you, this is chapter 17. I've been talking to you about this for a while now. So he says, you really don't have that much difficulty in realizing that the thought system, right, that the special relationship protects is delusional. All right? He's telling you the thought of separation is delusional. He says you don't have too much trouble accepting that anymore because of, you're more than halfway through this text. All right? He says, but, this is what I mean by it's human nature to think that, yeah, but this one is different. This relationship is different. Okay? That's all he's trying to say here. Right? Yet the special relationship still seems to you somehow to be different. All right? Alrighty then. Yet we have looked at it far closer than we have in many other aspects. All right? So while the special relationship aspect remains, all right, he says, retain this and you've retained the whole thought system. Because it is one or the other thought system. All right? Paragraph 7. It is essential to realize that all defenses do what they would defend. The underlying basis for their effectiveness is that they offer what they defend. What they defend is placed in them for safekeeping, and as they operate, they bring it to you. Let's finish. Every defense operates by giving gifts. The gift is always a miniature of the thought system the defense protects, set in a golden frame. The frame is very elaborate, all set with jewels, deeply carved and polished. Its purpose is to be of value in itself and to divert your attention from what it discloses. But the frame without the picture you cannot have. Defenses operate to make you think you can. Okay? So, this is the idea. Defenses do what they would defend. Right? So it becomes that vicious cycle. I think I need to be defended against this. All right, so I build a wall. All right, I build a wall around my house. I have to defend against my neighbors. All right. Every time I leave the house, I see the wall, and I reinforce the idea that I need to defend myself against the neighbors. Someone is going to attack me. So that defense does what I'm asking, defenses do what they would defend. So they reinforce the idea that I need a wall. I need to build something to help me. All right. So defense is always reminding us that you're vulnerable. Basically, that's what he's saying. All right. What they defend is placed in them for safekeeping. All right? And as they operate, they bring it to you. All right? So we put our sense of safety in that wall. All right? But as the wall operates, it brings us the idea that you're not safe. Excuse me. So every defense operates by giving gifts, and the gift is always a miniature of the thought system that the defense protects, right? And the gift that the wall gives me is the idea that I'm safe in an elaborate frame, okay? All set with jewels and deeply carved and polished. Its purpose is to be of value in itself. All right? So the idea of protection is the value. It's supposed to be the value in itself. to divert your attention from what it encloses. So it's diverting my attention from the fact that I'm afraid, I'm fearful. All right? I'm paranoid. Someone's going to get me for something. Okay? Look out, kid, it's something you did. All right. But the frame without the picture you cannot have. See, the frame is trying to divert my attention from the picture that I'm afraid. I have fearful thoughts, so I'm protecting the form. All right? But yet, if I look at something other than the frame, I realize I have fearful thoughts. But that frame is there to distract me. Right? But he says at the end of paragraph 7, but the frame without the picture you cannot have. Defenses operate to make you think you can. All right? Defenses operate to make you think you can, that you can operate without the picture. And the picture is that I'm fearful, I'm guilty, whatever it is. Okay? He says, but the defenses, basically, they try to hide that. All right? I mean, you can see it. You know, the image that popped up for me was, you know, the old Wild West of the United States, where, you know, everybody be carrying a gun. Okay? But just to strap on that gun, is, you feel protected, but it's hiding the fact that you feel vulnerable. All right? I mean, and we can go on and on with everything, you know. So paragraph 8, the special relationship has the most imposing and deceptive frame of all. Right? The most imposing and deceptive frame of all the defenses the ego uses. Its thought system is offered here, surrounded by a frame so heavy and so elaborate that the picture is almost obliterated by its imposing structure. Into the frame are woven all sorts of fanciful and fragmented illusions of love, set with dreams of sacrifice and self-aggrandizement, and interlaced with gilded threads of self-destruction. The glitter of blood shines like rubies, and the tears are faceted like diamonds, and gleam in the dim light in which the offering is made. Okay? Very, very poetic. Okay? But that special relationship, whatever it is, it's telling me, oh man, this is going to take care of everything. This is going to take care of that hurt. This is going to take care of that loneliness. This is going to take care of that anger. This is going to make up for what they did to you, or he or she did to you. All right, this is going to be the answer. This is it. All right, because that the frame, all right, the frame has got all sorts of fanciful and fragmented illusions in it. Okay? But in paragraph 9, Jesus says in italics, look at the picture. All right? Do not let the frame distract you. This gift is given you for your damnation, and if you take it, you will believe that you are damned. You cannot have the frame without the picture. What you value is the frame, for there you see no conflict. Right? Yet the frame is only the wrapping for the gift of conflict. The frame is not the gift. Be not deceived by the most superficial aspects of this thought system, for these aspects enclose the whole, complete in every aspect. Death lies in this glittering gift. Let not your gaze dwell on the hypnotic gleaming of the frame. Look at the picture and realize that death is offered you. All right? Death, the decision maker choosing to believe you're separate. All right? That's what's being offered you, is the idea of separation. All right? No matter what the frame looks like, it's so enticing. All right? You're walking past the old bakery and you know it's early in the morning and you can smell the bread baking. Very enticing. Very enticing. All right? But you could hurt yourself going into that bakery and indulging in all the glittering illusions. All right? Everything will look so good and smell so good. All right? And then the next thing you know, all the complications that come with lard and sugar and flour, things like that. But that's only one thing, you know. But that's the image that came up for me, was that an enticing smell of the bakery. All right? When I was a kid, I could smell it every morning, all right? Because the bakery was close. And it's like the picture frame. We think this is what's going to make me happy. This is what's going to take away the pain, the loneliness. All right? But look at the picture. Look at what you're signing up for. Okay? You're signing up for something that's only going to reinforce the idea of separation. You're signing up for something that might take away the pain momentarily, but it will renew itself and reinforce itself. All right? So he says, look at the picture. All right? But he's inviting us to look at the picture with him. Look at the picture with me. All right? I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you feel better. Okay? All right. And when he says death lies in this glittering gift, so such a vivid writer. All right, he's talking about the choice for the belief in separation. All right, that is death. That brings death with it. All right. Let not your gaze dwell on the hypnotic gleaming of the frame. All right. Don't let your senses dwell on that wonderful aroma from the bakery. All right? Those donuts are going to get you, son. All right? Look at the picture and realize that death is offered you. All right? The picture is telling you that it's trying to reinforce the idea of separation. It's trying to reinforce the idea of conflict. Trying to reinforce the idea that you're guilty of something. Right? And that frame only momentarily takes away the pain or whatever. So paragraph 10, that is why the holy instant is so important in the defense of truth. The truth itself needs no defense. But you do need defense against your acceptance of the gift of death. Right? When you who are truth accept an idea so dangerous to truth, you threaten truth with destruction. And your defense must now be undertaken to keep truth whole. The power of heaven, the love of God, the tears of Christ, and the joy of his eternal spirit are marshaled to defend you from your own attack. For you attack them, being part of them, and they must save you, for they love themselves. All right? We're talking about heaven and God and Christ and the joy of his eternal spirit. He says that's what you're attacking, because you are that. Right? You're attacking that by accepting the frame and not looking at the picture of separation. Right? For you attack them, being a part of them, and they must save you, for they love themselves and you. Right? So God and the Holy Spirit and Christ and all the love of heaven is there to save you. Okay? So the holy instant, when I connect with the right mind, that part of the mind where all that is there for my protection, right? The holy instant is a miniature of heaven, sent you from heaven. Right? It is a picture too. It's also a picture set in a frame. Right? Yet if you accept this gift, you will not see the frame at all, because the gift can only be accepted through your willingness to focus all your attention on the picture. The holy instant is a miniature of eternity. It is a picture of timelessness set in a frame of time. Right? If you focus on the picture, you will realize that it was only the frame that made you think it was a picture. Without the frame, the picture is seen as what it represents. For as the whole thought system of the ego lies in its gifts, so the whole of heaven lies in this instant, borrowed from eternity and set in time for you. All right? That's a wonderful synopsis, all right, of what it is just to step back even momentarily from this world and connect with all that's loving, right? The power of heaven, God, Christ, the Buddha consciousness, right? The Christ consciousness, right? The power of the consciousness rising, as Eckhart Tolle would call it, the deep I. All that. You connect with that. And although we're here in time, this timelessness is experienced, right, within this dream of time. Okay? It's a miniature of eternity. And later, or earlier, Jesus says, how long is an instant? Right? This instant can be expanded eternally, because it is a miniature of eternity. It's a picture of timelessness set in a frame of time. Right? We think we're here in time. Right? If you focus on the picture, you will realize that it was only the frame that made you think it was a picture. All right? Without the frame, the picture is seen for what it represents. For as the whole thought system of the ego lies in its gifts, so the whole of heaven lies in this instant, borrowed from eternity and set in time for you. The whole of heaven lies in this instant. Let that sink in. You take, people tell you breathe in, breathe out, follow your breath. Whatever it takes to get to that place in the mind. Right? In that instant, you experience the eternity of heaven, the whole of heaven. Right? It lies in this instant. Okay. And I believe the idea of breathing out, the letting go, is the basic meaning of nirvana in Sanskrit. Hey, I never studied Sanskrit, but I just heard that recently. Don't let me fool you. Okay? So the whole of eternity is offered us in that instant. When I go to the right mind and I say, help me to see correctly. He says, in that instant, the eternity of heaven is offered you. It exists there. Okay. Looks like it got a little darker outside. Paragraph 12. 2 gifts are offered you. Each is complete and cannot be partially accepted. Each is a picture of all that you have seen very differently. All right? Each is a picture of all that you can have seen very differently. You cannot compare their value by comparing a picture to a frame. It must be the pictures only that you compare, or the comparison is wholly without meaning. Remember that it is the picture that is the gift, and only on this basis are you really free to choose. Look at the pictures, both of them. One is a tiny picture, hard to see at all, beneath the heavy shadow of its enormous and disproportionate enclosure. The other is lightly framed and hung in light, lovely to look upon for what it is. Right? So just saying, just look at the 2 thought systems. All right? And make your choice. The thought of separation, conflict, the thought of oneness, happiness. You be the judge. 13. You who have tried so hard and are still trying to fit the better picture into the wrong frame, and so combine what cannot be combined, accept this and be glad. Accept this statement and be glad. These pictures are framed perfectly for what they represent. One is framed to be out of focus and not seen. The other is framed for perfect clarity. The picture of darkness and death grows less convincing as you search it out amid its wrappings. And as each senseless stone seems to shine from the frame in darkness is exposed to light, it becomes dull and lifeless, ceases to distract you from the picture. And finally, you look upon the picture itself, seeing at last that unprotected by the frame, it has no meaning. Okay? So he's just saying, just constantly look at that ego thought system. All right, he says, yeah, granted, the wrappings are nice. They seem to be. All right? But upon inspection, all right, you try to search out it just grows less and less convincing, right? Because it's a thought system of conflict and death, right? And he says the other picture is lightly framed, for time cannot contain eternity, right? There is no distraction here. The picture of heaven and eternity grows more convincing as you look at it. And now, by real comparison, a transformation of both pictures can at last occur, and each is given its rightful place when both are seen in relation to each other. The dark picture brought to light is not perceived as fearful, but the fact that it is just a picture is brought home at last, and what you see there you will recognize as what it is. A picture of what you thought was real, and nothing more. For beyond this picture, you will see nothing. So there's just that constant theme of just look with me. Let's look at it. All right, let's transform your perceptions. where he says in paragraph 14, sentence 6, the dark picture brought to light is not perceived as fearful. So this ego thought system, every piece of it that comes up for us, and whenever we become aware of a part of that picture, we bring it to the right mind. We bring it to Jesus and ask, help me to see this. I'm willing to see it correctly. Right? That's when the dark picture is brought to the light. Right? And it's not seen as fearful. Right? And he says, and the more you do it, the more you're going to like it, the more you're going to see. All right? And the fact that it is just a picture is brought home at last. It's nothing. It's brought home at last. And what you see there, you will recognize as what it is. A picture of what you thought was real. I thought separation was real. All right? And nothing more. For beyond this picture, you will see nothing. 15. The picture of light, in clear-cut and unmistakable contrast, is transformed into what lies beyond the picture. As you look on this, you realize that it is not a picture, but a reality. This is no figured representation of a thought system, but the thought itself. What it represents is there. The frame fades gently, and God rises to your remembrance, offering you the whole of creation in exchange for your little picture, wholly without value and entirely deprived of meaning. All right, so we keep going into that holy instant, practicing coming inside and being willing to have our perceptions corrected. All right, he says, then all of a sudden, in a certain moment, you will realize that this instant it's not the picture of a thought, it is the thought. It's reality. It's heaven. Right? And you are there. And the thought of God rises in your mind. Right? What it represents is there. The frame fades gently, and God rises to your remembrance, offering you the whole of creation in exchange for your little picture, having your little picture retranslated. Help me to see my little picture differently. Help me to see it correctly. And as God ascends into his rightful place in your mind, and you to yours, you will experience again the meaning of relationship and know it to be true. Right? You will experience the meaning of your relationship with your Creator, with God. And you'll know that it's true. Now, Jesus is talking to us when he says, he's talking to that decision-making part of our mind. When he says, let us ascend in peace together to the Father by giving his ascendance, by giving him ascendance in our minds. We will gain everything by giving him the power and the glory and keeping no illusions of what they are. They are in us through his ascendance. What he has given is his. It shines in every part of him, as in the whole. The whole reality of your relationship with him lies in our relationship to one another. The holy instant shines alike on all relationships, for in it they are one. For here is only healing, already complete and perfect. For here is God, and where he is, only the perfect and complete can be. Okay? It's the whole reality of your relationship with God lies in your relationship to one another. So the reality of my relationship to God, right, lies in my relationship with you. So it would behoove me to want to see my relationship with you correctly. Right? I want to remove the ego aspects of it, which means the projection of guilt. Right? Help me to see the other correctly. Right? And when that happens, I realize my relationship with God. For here is God, and where he is, only the perfect and complete can be. And that's what you will experience, perfection and completion. Okay. No more need for me to go on. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to the next session.